end our timeline and interview, but we're going to go through our survey results. Then we're going to talk about those opportunities to engage. This survey results presentation is the culmination of the first part of the EPA Environmental Justice Grant. And our grant partners are the University of Central Florida, and I'll show you a slide about the wonderful work that's being done on air quality at UCF and how you can get engaged. The Community Equity Project, Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida, Save the Wekiva River and its headwaters, and the Miss Betty Equity Lending Library. The University of Central Florida has an air quality lab, and some of the wonderful work that they're doing now is going to be placing particulate matter monitors throughout the community. And if you would like to have one on your property or on your street, you can contact them. When we finish this program, you will be able to get a copy of this presentation. You can click and watch their videos that are on that slide. But this is what the monitors look like. And they can be mounted on poles. And this is a National Science Foundation grant. And they're going to install up to 100 air quality sensors in Orlando. And they're going to have workshops to help understand the data. And they're going to have grants once you have finished that project with them that are to help you to move into some advocacy based on what you find. So when you do get this particular slide presentation, you will be able to click on these links to be able to communicate with them if you would like to. And the results of the survey that I'm going to present are the survey that Dr. Jones put together and our team finalized. So I'm serving as a data analyst, reporting and control manager, and David Porter is doing community development. So why we are here today is to discuss the results of the first survey. We are doing a first survey, then we're going to be doing our community science monitoring of air, ambient air outdoors, and then we are going to have, on the basis of what we find, a communications outreach to help people understand the air quality that we find out about with that process. And then after we have that communications outreach, we're going to have another survey to see if folks learned something from the process. So toward the end of this, I'm going to tell you about some opportunities for participation. You just heard about the first one with the UCF Air Quality Lab. The way that we do surveying is that we really respect and value the wisdom that's in the community. And we are fortunate that we had community members who stepped up to be on the survey team. Coronet Scarborough, Marion Beckford Hall, also Parrish Jones, Kim Clark, Tarsi, Lawrence, KK, and Betty Gilson. So these folks are the ones who did the work of reaching out to their friends and their neighbors in the community so that they could gather the information that will help keep us healthy and safe in the community. So who responded to the survey? The first few questions are from the social determinants of health that are neighborhood and physical environment. You know, have you ever heard somebody say zip code matters? Well, that is because in a given zip code, the places that we live, the places that we learn, the places that we play and worship, all influence our health. And the social determinant of health, neighborhood and physical environment, is manifested in this survey by asking folks for their zip code. The vital condition that really corresponds with is the basic needs for health and safety. So there were 180 respondents to the survey. Our goal was 150. We had 85 from the Paramore area, We had 45 from the Mercy Drive area, and we had 50 from the Holden Heights area. That means that the zip codes that are part of this survey, 60.6% of the people who responded were from 32805, with 25% from 32808 and 14.4% from 32801. So one of the things that we asked for was for our respondents to the surveys to tell us about their respiratory health. Now, we respect all of the people in the community and we're concerned about them as human subjects. This means that at any point, if someone did not wish to answer a question, then that they would simply be recorded as that they chose not to answer. We have questions 6 through 10 that are really about the social determinant of health, that is healthcare access, and that corresponds to the vital condition basic needs for health and safety. So these are questions, for example, have you ever had any type of respiratory condition or health condition that affected your lungs or breathing? And so this could include asthma, COPD, bronchitis, allergies, emphysema, lung cancer, cystic fibrosis, pneumonia, pleural effusion, and there was an other category. So 57% of the respondents said that indeed they have had at some point a respiratory condition or a health condition that affected their lungs or breathing, and 43% said that they had not. And the next question was, if you're willing to include this information in this survey, please select the condition. And so I wanted to share with you what we found. As I said, people are allowed to opt out, and so 27.6% of people were not comfortable answering that question. But then we looked to see what are those kinds of things that people have. Why are we asking these questions? We are asking these questions because we are going through a project where we're going to be wanting to give information that's useful to the people in the community. So one of the ways that we know is that we ask them what kinds of health issues in this category they may have. But if you'll notice, allergies had the highest percentage of respondents, 16%, and then allergies and asthma, which was 13.3%. So it's very interesting because asthma alone was 6.1, but what's very interesting is that asthma is paired. It's paired with allergies, it's paired with both allergies and bronchitis that the same person has experienced. Bronchitis exists alone, but as you see, it also is in pairs. It's also in triplets. It's also in fours. And then comes COPD, and then these smaller ones. So when you add up all the places where asthma is, for this, you get 35.9%. So that's this was said, select all that apply to you or others in your household. So this is a household understanding. But over a third of the people that are responding to this survey are affected by asthma, either personally or in their household. So the remaining 12.1 of the responses, after you see all of these, which are not included, were individuals that had combinations of 2 to 4 respiratory conditions, and it was only really one person as you got down below what you see here. But it's interesting that the zero, the people who had no conditions, was like 28.7%. That included none, and that included the decision not to respond to the question. However, we had one condition, 28.7, but 2 conditions, 19.3. I was very surprised that the 3 conditions existed at this number, 13.8, and then 4 conditions was 2.2. And so it was very interesting to see that people who are suffering from asthma may be suffering from other conditions as well, and maybe at different times in their life, because the question asks, have you ever? So this says, has any member of your family ever had any type of respiratory condition or health condition that affected their lungs or breathing? Again, we have the same questions, the same answer, but now think about this. If somebody asks you about your family, they don't necessarily live with you. They could live anywhere. So you might be related to somebody who is not necessarily living in the area. So 60% of those folks. So we had 57% before, now we have 60% when we're looking at that larger group of family. So the relatives with respiratory conditions was the next question. How were these people related to you? And the largest numbers were for mothers and fathers, and then came the sisters and brothers, and then came more distant relatives. So these are the percents of respondents of those relatives who had those respiratory conditions. And then this last one in this series is to select the conditions that the family members had. And so again, we have a number of people who decided they didn't wish to respond. But here again, we have the allergies with asthma, and these other combinations. So there was a remaining 15.5% this time. So 15.5 had the multiple conditions as opposed to the single or double or sometimes triple here. So it was very interesting here. When we started looking at these multiple conditions, 3 conditions was 11%, 4 conditions was 39%, and 1 poor soul, which is 0.6%, had 8 conditions. I had done some work in another community that was affected by sea level rise, and it was very interesting that those people had a similar kind of result, where most of the people had no problems whatsoever, and then many people had coughing and minor symptoms. But those who had serious symptoms had myriad symptoms. And so I do find it interesting that there are a number of people that are in that very vulnerable category. So the next section is really about the history of place. And the history of place, social determinant of health, is the neighborhood and physical environment. Remember, these are the places where we live, learn, work, and play. And they're related to the vital condition of thriving natural world. So the first question asks the question, have you ever lived in a location that had many trees in and around the neighborhood? So the response to that was, many people have, in fact. So when we are surveying people in Mercy Drive, in Paramore, and in Holden Heights, many of these people have a history at some point in their life of living in an area that had many trees around the neighborhood. Why is this an interesting thing, and why is this important? One of the reasons is because many times problems with the lungs and respiratory issues are cumulative over time. And so if a person has had a portion of their life in an environment that had many trees, they might have been exposed to clean air, and then there are 13.3% who have never lived where there were many trees, and then there was a small person who opted out. Ooh, pardon me. Let me get back into this. What did I just do? Okay, I will fix that.
Okay, while Jan is trying to bring the screen back up, I just want to make sure everybody said they could hear okay, and that make sure you mute yourself, please. Keep yourself muted. We are recording this, and we will be printing this information and sending it out or putting it on our website so you can print it. That's right. Okay, Jan, question 12.
So this question asks how long people lived in an area that had a number of trees. And people have many years. I mean, 1 to 5 years was 23% of the folks, 6 to 10 years, 18%, and then lesser percentages in these 11 to 25 years. But look how many people have been in an area with many trees for 25 years. So more than 25 years is 24%. So the question here was, did you experience any respiratory conditions or illnesses while living there? So this is still in our treed neighborhood, and so that's the question. While you were living there in that environment, did you happen to have respiratory conditions? And so 41.1% of the folks that were surveyed had, in fact, experienced respiratory conditions or illnesses while living in a treed environment. And so let's compare this now to the next scenario where we have you ever lived in a location that was near a major road or roads or highways? And so we again have quite a number of people, 83.9%, with 15% who have never lived near major roads or highways. And so did you experience any respiratory conditions while living in a high traffic area? And so this particular one is yes, is 51.7, and no is 45. This is not a marked difference. I think is it a 10-point difference? Let's go back and look at the other slide. Okay, this one, there were 41.1% when living in a treed environment had respiratory conditions. And then here we had 51.7. So yeah, 10 or so. I should point out that this picture here is about the damage that can be caused by particulate matter 2.5. Remember that both UCF, that's going to be partnering with us on reference instruments when we do our community science, and our AirQual sensors are going to be able to pick up particulate matter 2.5. And this was a particular diagram showing that this could actually cause damage to your lungs. So just in summary, if we look, what we were seeing here was in the treed location. Have you ever lived in that location? 84.4. Have you ever lived in a location that was near roads or highways? 83.9, very similar. And then did you experience any respiratory conditions or illnesses while living there? We established there was about a 10-point difference there. So people were then asked, what was your experience living near a high traffic roadway? Select all the types of vehicles that use this road or highway. So it's just asking people to comment on what they see on the roadways from their home. And what's interesting about this one is that 11% of the people responded that they were passenger vehicles. And then there were just a few folks that had these others that by themselves, right? Singular, just some passenger vehicles, semi-trucks, construction vehicles, semi-trucks, or a combination of semi-trucks and construction vehicles. These combinations, the one that had the highest in the interim here was 3.3, or the passenger vehicles with delivery trucks and semi-trucks. But then here we get to the same kind of thing that we're seeing when we look at the asthma and so forth, that there are some people that when they are beset with something, they're beset with everything. So passenger vehicles, delivery trucks, semi-trucks, and construction vehicles are what 66.3% of the folks said that they experience on the roadways around them. 5.5% said it was passenger vehicles, delivery trucks, and construction vehicles. So this one here leaves out the semi-trucks. They may be on smaller roadways. And then the experience living near the high traffic roadways, how many vehicles? Now, we will be doing traffic counts. So this gives us a very good idea when we do the actual traffic counts. What is the perception that people have versus what we're actually seeing on those roadways? But a few people, 7.1 to 10%, up to 14.3%, thought that they had fewer than 500 vehicles every day. But 45.8% of the respondents felt that they think that there are more than 500 of those vehicles going past every day. So it will be interesting to see what our traffic counts turn out. So the next question is about selecting the conditions when you live near an extremely busy roadway. And it was interesting that 44.2% of the people opted not to respond to that question. But those who did, again, we have the allergies being the most prevalent, and then asthma showing up in many of the different combinations of respiratory conditions that people have experienced. So there are these knowledge and perception questions. I call these kind of factoids. So decision-making to avoid air pollutants is one of the things that our project is about. There are many things that we're going to try to learn about, and one of those things is how to protect our health and safety and how we can be informed about when air quality is bad and to protect ourselves from it. So we asked people if they were familiar with airnow.gov, and 14.6% is the percentage who were, and then those who were not was almost 84%. And if we asked if they knew how to use airnow.gov, only 12.4 actually knew how to use it. And again, we have a large percentage of those who don't. And are you making decisions to avoid exposure to air pollution? So there are a number of people who are doing that. 76.8% of people are trying to avoid being exposed to air pollution, but few of them, only a few of them, are using the airnow.gov tool. And so 22% are not making any decisions in their daily life to avoid air pollution. So I just wanted to show you the airnow.gov site, and that you can come here and you can enter in your zip code. Now, if you enter in 32805 and you click on the 32805 Orlando, Florida, some of the information is not available, okay? It was not available today. However, down here, there are forecasts for the air quality index. So today it is good, tomorrow it is good, and when you look over here on the side in the next slide, you'll see that there is an air quality index scale. So all you have here, remember, we're going to be testing with aerosol for 6 or 7 different pollutants, but you have one that is tracked here, and it is ozone. And we know that when it's very hot, that ozone can trap pollutants down close to the ground. So it's an extremely important one to follow. And so you can see that when the air quality index scale is from 0 to 50, it's good. If it's from 51 to 100, it's moderate. And then when it says 101 to 150 is unhealthy for sensitive groups, that would mean that if you're in a sensitive group, if you're very young, if you're very old, if you're morbidly obese, or if you in fact are somebody who has pre-existing heart conditions or respiratory conditions, you would then go by this number here. If you're between 101 and 150, you would take measures to protect yourself. For others, it's from 151 to 200, where you begin to take measures to protect yourself. But let me show you what they have in other locations. If you go down to Miami, there's a more complete panel. So that gives you your air quality, your AQI up here. It gives you your particulate matter 2.5 as well. Of course, in Miami, they're good today, but tomorrow they're moderate. But then they also have the breakdown with PM 2.5. And remember, the UCF monitors that are going to be up are going to be able to track PM 2.5. So we should be able, either through this system or through those systems that they're going to be using, their interconnectivity system, we should be able to start getting this information in Orlando as they move farther through their project. And then ozone. But here's where Miami has them, and they're in the good for both PM 2.5 and ozone today. And then using those same scales, you can see that they have moderate concerns with PM 2.5 tomorrow and through next Monday, but the ozone looks as though it's fine. So you can go to the airnow.gov and you can find out what the forecast is. So then there's factoids, and I put these under the vital conditions, the thriving natural world, because a lot of these have to do with understanding pollution, and some of they're facts. And so all of these facts were true that were on this slide, right? Respiratory disease caused by air pollution is a major cause of death around the world. And so we had 41.1% of the people who agreed and 20% of the people who strongly agreed. But then we had those who disagreed strongly, and neither agreed nor disagreed. So if you look at the pattern, all of these were true on this page, and most of these, for example, are, this is 61.1% either agree or strongly agree. Here you have, what, 62.8? So the majority of people are aware of and are understanding outdoor air pollution is a major environmental health problem around the world. And it was checked a couple times to see if, we asked the same question again, we see that we have the same results. So we feel confident that we have a substantial part of the population that really understands the danger of air pollution. But the ones that we're going to try and reach, of course, are the folks who either not sure, right? These are folks who are just not sure. They neither agree nor disagree with these facts. And these people who neither agree nor disagree are the kinds of folks that we can speak to about what these issues are and how they can protect themselves. And if they disagree and strongly disagree and so forth, we'll just have a longer conversation. So these facts about trees as well, we had many people who disagreed with trees are not useful when it comes to combating air quality. You see, we had people who disagreed, who strongly disagreed, and so forth. Very small number, like 15, 16% of folks agreed that trees are not useful. But then we had strongly agreeing that trees help decrease air pollution. And this bodes well if the community in going through this process decides that they would like to have landscaping as something that they want to do, that you have a possibility that people will agree because they're understanding these basic concepts. And this was an interesting one. If all the trees in my neighborhood were cut down, I would not be concerned. And they're like 11.7% of the people. So, just knowing that among your neighbors, there are 11% of the people that would not care if all the trees are gone. But then you have those who disagree. And then again, we have trees and other plants have no effect on air quality. So these two were meant to be checking to see if people are understanding that concept, and you have a majority of the people in your community understanding that. So then our indoor air quality really is moving us to the vital condition of humane housing and basic needs for health and safety. So we're going to take a look at our indoor air quality and what people had to say about it. Okay, so this was a bank of questions, some of which were kind of repetitive to see how people responded. But more than half of the respondents either strongly agreed or agreed that they are worried about air quality in their home. And the indoor air quality can have a negative effect on people's health was 60.6%. So that indoor air quality also being affected by the outdoor air, 71.9% understood. So only half of the respondents disagreed, strongly disagreed. There was nothing they could do to change their indoor air quality. So when we talk later in this project about things that we want to communicate about, some of the things we may choose to communicate about are ways that you can influence your indoor air quality. What kind of behavior changes can you make to improve it? And what can you do to modify your home? So many are not concerned about their indoor air quality, 68.1%, and they don't think that 70.8% don't think it affects their health. So that's an area to work on. And then air pollution, the causes and effects of air pollution. So this was interesting. All vehicles are sources of air pollution. And many agreed with that. 57.2% agreed with that, and only, like 40.6% disagreed in some measure or were not sure. So it is interesting. One of the things that we can learn about and educate about are the different kinds of vehicles and which ones really contribute a significant amount to air pollution and which ones don't. And then semi-trucks and diesel trucks are a source of particulate matter air pollution. One of the contaminants that one of the air quality indicators that we're going to be looking at is going to be diesel particulate matter. Our AirQual sensors do have a sensor head that is for that. So we will be able to take measurements and we'll be able to help people understand what measurements we're able to get. But strongly agree or agree is, 70+% of the people that semi-trucks and diesel trucks are a source of particulate matter air pollution, and they are. diesel particulates, and it'll be interesting to see what we pick up on anything that's a particulate matter 2.5 that's at a certain height or distance from the road. And then air pollution is only caused by factories. So you had most people who disagreed with that, which would be correct because it's not the only way that we get air pollution. So air pollution affects air quality. Yes, it definitely does. And almost 90% of your people understood that. So there are a lot of things that are well understood. And then there are just a couple of things that we can always learn. So action and inaction. So this is about looking at what people's behaviors are when they understand that they're concerned about air pollution. So I am currently taking steps to improve the indoor air quality in my house. And so there are people, 55, a little bit, 56% of folks who are taking steps already to try to improve their indoor air quality in their home. There are people who disagree, so they're not doing it at all. And then there are people who are not really sure if what they're doing is helpful. And then I'm interested in learning about how I can help improve air quality in my neighborhood. So this was very encouraging to me because this says that you have, 67.2% of the people who strongly agree that they would like to do something to help their neighborhood. They would like to be able to help improve air quality in the neighborhood. So that this group of people, then it is about finding out, well, where is there an air quality concern and what would be some things that would help to address it? And so this may be your work group. This is your team. These are the folks who are actually going to do the work, right?
Yes.
Yes. And then active community members and residents can help solve air pollution, air quality problems in their neighborhood. And you have a lot of can-do people. Here's your team. And it's about the same kind of, 67% of folks. You've got 69% or so more. You've got more here. So you do have people, they understand there may be things that can be done and they're willing to work on it, and that there is nothing I can do to decrease air pollution. And look at 46.4 strongly, and you got 13.4% strongly disagree with that, and 46.4 disagree with that. So I mean, this makes me feel, this particular slide made me feel like you're going to have some engaged people that may have some of those illnesses who are concerned and want to be able to understand what's going on. So let's take a look at neighborhood. So this is very interesting about looking in your neighborhood, right? There are sources of pollution in or around my neighborhood. People strongly agree or agree that that is the case. The people who strongly disagree are only 2.2%, or disagree are 9.4%. So you do have consensus that there's air pollution. And this is meant to be a doubling question, right? The air quality in my neighborhood is poor. So in fact, you have the same, you got the same 18.3% who strongly agree. You have, 52 and 46% that are very, very close. And so this, we just asked the same question. You can see on the repeat, we're very close to the same numbers. The air in my neighborhood is not polluted. So people disagree with that or strongly disagree with that in numbers. And there are always these folks, a few 20%-ish, that are just really not sure. And you see that in many places. I think that your groups of people that really would like to have some education that would be helpful is really around the 15 to 20% of the respondents. So I am concerned about how air pollution in Orange County may be affecting my health. So that's a number of people that's, like 67.8% of the people. So that's an opportunity to get people using airnow.gov. That's an opportunity for people to be able to get into the UCF program and be able to have some numbers and be able to have data-driven decision-making by looking at what is actually being measured in the air. So the fact check was factoids again, and these were all true, that approximately 4.2 million deaths of people below the age of 50 occur every year as a result of exposure to outdoor air pollution. And many people just really were not sure. And I can certainly understand that with the specificity of the numbers that people would not be sure of that. Climate change is occurring on our planet, and that is an interesting metric that you have a pretty good consensus among those people who were surveyed that climate change is occurring. You have only 0.6% that strongly disagrees, like 1%. You have 2.2 that disagree, but then you have a little bit lower number actually that are unsure. It's riding around 15–20%. It's a little bit lower here. So progress is being made on helping people understand that climate change is occurring. And then another factoid that many people just unsure probably of the specificity of the number. Air pollution kills an estimated 7 million people worldwide every year. But by putting these kinds of facts on surveys, people begin to think about, oh, I wonder what it is. So we wonder how many people went into the house and Googled that. So the next set of questions about what are people doing in order to try to avoid pollutants, and does it make sense to do so? So we asked folks, if you make decisions to avoid exposure to air pollutants, how often do you do so? So 61% of the respondents every day make decisions to avoid air pollutants. And then you have folks who do it weekly, monthly, and those who chose not to respond. So this is something that, you know, almost 2/3 of the people are actually concerned about and are doing. So now the question, what personal decisions do you make or can you make to avoid being exposed to outdoor pollutants that are harmful to your health? So we gave a list of options. So remaining indoors, 39.2% of the people would make that decision. And if they use airnow.gov, only 3.9% are using it. But if they did, it would help them make that decision if they should remain indoors. Watching the pollen count. Don't exercise near traffic or roadway. That's one of the things, particularly when there's heat and there's ozone that helps to hold some pollutants down toward the ground, that we don't want to exercise near the traffic or roadway. So it's a sensible thing. Check to see what the air quality level is for the day to plan your activities. So that's interesting. Only 3.9 are using airnow.gov. So some other people have found other ways to be able to check to see what the air quality level is. And then use the recycle air option in your car, which is what you want to do when there's a lot of pollution in the air. Avoid locations at certain times of the day or seasons of the year, 20.4%. And so this is very important for us because, you know, we are going to have a sampling plan in the community. So at particular locations over several months, we'll be taking measurements, and that will give us a baseline of what we might be able to tell people about those locations, because this is a sensible thing to avoid locations at certain times of day or seasons of the year when it might be very hot or there might be other things affecting the air quality in a particular location. I'm new and interested in this progress. And then get a MERV 13 air filter that removes bacteria and viruses for your HVAC system. And there were a couple of people who are doing that already, and others can be educated about it. Wearing a mask, no AC, nobody. And then 7.2% opted out of responding to the question. So that is really the end of all of the questions that we were asking people, and we're going to make that available. We'll be able to have a discussion about it in a few minutes. Did you want to say anything about that? Anybody in the room? So let's just cover the opportunities to engage. Did you want to speak about Miss Betty's Equity Lending Library?
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? I guess so. Well, Miss Betty Equity Lending Library is actually where we were able to parlay some dollars from a UCF mini grant and some other grants that we've been able to receive to actually lend out to individuals an indoor air quality monitor, tablets when we are trying our best with the digital divide, but more so just to look at what is happening when we're out in the community. I always have a problem with the pulsometer, just with COVID, how could we check our breathing? But the Linden Library has other things in it. It serves as a hurricane hub, pop-up hub. So we had generators, we had other things in it, but these are the things that were going to be lent as far as for air quality and helping you to monitor that. And so it was available to residents in the Paramore, Holden Heights, and Mercy Drive. And we're looking for additional funding to increase what we have in our Linden Library. But it was a place that had been in Paramore since 1971, serving as a child care facility. So a lot of people know where that building is located. So it was just something we wanted to do so we could eliminate what people would consider income challenges to get certain things in that community, to give them a upper hand.
Thank you. So where we are in our timeline is we have completed survey 1, and this is our survey results meeting here on the week of June 24th. And so the next thing that's coming up, I'm wondering if Wanda Jones can speak to, she's arrived. And
no, that's Maryland.
No. Oh,
Wanda's on.
Wanda's not here.
Wanda, Wanda, I sent you a text. Are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm
Okay.
here.
Okay. Because I can't see if you're on. So we wanted you to explain the opportunities. Oh, she's got that phone again. We're going to get you a tab. Okay. The community, we're calling it community science team training that we're going to start conducting in July. And there was also a question in the chat room, what type of monitoring systems we were going to utilize. So I'm going to let you go ahead and answer that question, Wanda.
Okay. So can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. The monitoring system that we're going to be using for our study is the AIR monitoring system, which is a monitor that was also used by the EPA, and now recommended actually by the EPA as a good tool for monitoring air quality. So to answer that question, that's the one that we're going to be using. And what was the other question, the other thing I'm addressing?
The community science training opportunities, we're going to start that in, we used to call it citizen science, but they are saying that it's best to call them community science.
Okay. And I think that's great because it is more inclusive. Citizen science is a term that's it's typically used by scientists when they're talking about involving people from the community in science research projects. So this particular air quality study is for the community, and we want as many people as possible to participate in actually collecting the data so that you all can see what we're getting day to day. And so the training will start in July, and it will be collecting data 3 times a week in each of the neighborhoods. We'll be using the air quality monitors. The data collection in each community will take place for an hour. So for those people who are interested within your community, it would be an hour of your time, and you'll be using the monitors and actually seeing live as we collect the data what the numbers are in terms of the different pollutants, including the PM, particulate matter, ozone, which Jan mentioned earlier. And so I'm in the process of putting that training module together right now. And so we are hoping to be able to get that training session going within the next 2 weeks, but we will definitely let people know when the exact date is. I just need people to get in contact with Luana and let her know that you're interested in being a part of the team and in which community you live in, Paramore, Holden Heights, or Mercy Drive, so that we can put you on the appropriate team and get everything going.
You will be compensated. We believe it slightly a livable wage. So you will be paid $15 an hour during that time frame. And we will make sure that we collect it into 2 different seasons, hot, and hopefully it's cool by November. So we can have that sample. We'll have different samples. So please, you can contact me. You have my email address. Let me know if you're interested, and we'll make sure we send out the opportunities for the training and if you are serious about participating.
There will be a second survey, and we will be meeting a second survey team. We will be doing outreach, and we'll be executing our communications plan as well. So we will be using folks that are in the community and giving people stipends so that they will be trained to be able to speak about air quality to their neighbors. And we will do those in the summertime and in the fall. So Dr. Jones, did you want to speak to, or I don't know if you can even see this if you're on your phone, but there's air quality monitors. Dr. Jones had chosen the different heads. They snap on to the basic piece. And so we will be measuring the temperature, the humidity, and particulate matter 2.5, which we're going to have reference monitoring from UCF on those, and PM10, and then nitrous oxide. We're going to have ozone, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide. We're going to have non-methane hydrocarbons and the volatile organic compounds, and then the traffic counts. So the same group that's going to be doing those different measurements is also going to be doing the traffic counts. Did you want to
yes,
see
and
traffic counts?
I do, yes. Because I can see the screen too. I have both the computer and the phone. So yes, these particular items are the major air pollutants that tend to impact people and cause trigger their asthma, allergies, or any other respiratory conditions they have. Also, when exposed to a number of these over a period of time, it can lead to somebody who was healthy before starting to have respiratory conditions due to the impact that these the particulate matter and these other gases and can have on the lungs. And so that's why these were chosen. The ones that tend to have the most significant impact on human health are the ones that we want to identify and see what are the levels in each of these communities, especially with COVID-19 being an issue now, and it's an issue that's not going to go away. One of the things that is was found by researchers in the past year is that in communities that are exposed to high numbers of air pollutants, people in those communities, if they were infected by the COVID-19 virus, they were more likely to get the severe symptoms that lead to hospitalization and possibly death than people who lived in communities where there was not an air pollution problem. And so within these 3 communities that are part of that are our study sites, there's air pollution problems based on the airnow.gov, the EPA monitors that are in our area indicate that we're way above the 50th percentile when it comes to air pollution, 78, 90%, that's bad. And so we're really using this. This is an excellent opportunity for us to be able to identify how these individual components, how high are they in our neighborhoods, and then being able to tie that back into some of the information that we got from the survey. So you all are familiar with particulate matter. Most people are familiar with ozone. The other gas is carbon monoxide. That's one that you don't want to be in your garage with your garage shut and your car running, because that's the one that causes people to pass out and die. And then volatile organic compounds are interesting because we mentioned indoor air quality. Those are issues outside and also inside the house. People don't often associate the fact that outdoor air pollution can get inside the house, but it's not just that. It's also some of the items you use when you buy a new shower curtain. You know how it has that nice smell. Well, that nice smell is caused by volatile organic compounds. So it's a nice smell, but not really healthy for our lungs. So all the different things that you see on the screen right now are factors that impact when a person goes out on any given day. It will impact whether or not they're going to be their asthma or their allergies or their COPD or emphysema may be triggered, whether it be due to the temperature, the humidity, and the presence of all of these. I myself have asthma, and I know that there are certain days when it's really, really humid, I have to have my inhaler because it just, I can feel my asthma starting to trigger. And so all of these are factors that we're going to be testing with the Air Qual Monitor are relevant to everybody, and especially people who do already have respiratory conditions. So the work that you will do in doing our community and being on our community science team it's really relevant. It's not just something to get some money from. You will actually be contributing to helping your community learn more about their environment and how that environment is impacting them, their health, and the health of their families.
Thank you, Dr. Jones.
Mm-hmm. So the study area, as you thought, was Holden Heights, and so those are going to be the areas where you can do sampling and do the sample counts. Do you want to speak about the
Yes, I just want everybody to know that we're grateful to 32805 Spotlight as one of our major community partners. David Porter is a 30-year veteran journalist, retired from the Orlando Sentinel. This is how we get our information out to the community. We also have podcasts. And like I said earlier, he's taken on the road to help us as our community development person. He's really our community coordinator when it comes to communication, with our press releases and different things. But we always like to give a special thanks to individuals who were there before we received the funding for this. They were just a part of making sure this information got out, and we was empowering our community to do something in reference to their environment, and especially air quality.
So the call to action is to contact the Wanda if you would like to get engaged.
Yes, I know everybody's laughing. I think I met a cousin today on a call. Mr. Gelser, we was exchanging. There was another Gelser, and when he wrote down the story, I was like, I think we are related. I have not met very many people with the last name Gelser. So you can laugh. I still have an AOL.com, but if you've got to do Gmail, it's LaWandaGelser@gmail. But I prefer you to give me a call or send me an email personally, and I'll make sure we add you to our list. But at this time, we would like to see if there's any questions. So we're gonna go ahead and change the screen back. And I guess you guys can see me. Let's see. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to see each and every one of you. We were recording it, so I wanted to make sure the recording reflected so we can send this out. But I want everybody to know that the actual survey and the results will be posted on the Coalition of 100 Black Women website. I will be sending the link out to each and every one of you. If you receive this information, I'll send it to you. But if you want to make sure I have your email address, put it in the chat room and I'll make sure I send you the link. But at this time, we want to say, is there any questions? And I hope you guys realize that that survey was 60 questions, and we were able to do that during COVID. And two of our individuals, well, actually three, Miss Betty, my mom, Marilyn, my I guess childhood friend. We grew up together. We've known each other since I moved to Orlando. We won't say what year, 71. And Ms. Scarborough's actually was a part of getting the surveys out. But I want to contribute a lot of people. We tried something very new. We actually emailed the link to several individuals within the community, and they responded. and filled it out, and we were able to get a lot of the results that way. But we were happy that people were receptive to filling out a survey of 60 questions. That was unheard of, and we got way over the amount that we needed to get. And so I was just elated that Ms. Scarborough's, Marilyn and Kim Clark and others were able to assist us in getting these surveys. So if you guys don't mind, let's just give them a round of applause so they'll know that we appreciate what they were able to do for us. Are there any questions? I see some familiar faces on the line. I might put you on the spot, McQuilla. She's shaking her head. I'm just happy to see so many people on the call. Wanda, do you have anything to contribute? Do anybody have anything to contribute? This, no questions? Come on, guys.
This is Wanda. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who is participating and for your interest. As Luana said, this is something that is, I mean, this EPA grant is not, there's never been anything like this in Orlando's African American community, and the opportunity that it presents is huge. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's here, who's participating, and everybody who helped with the surveys, and everybody who's already signed up to be on the community science team. Just thank you for your interest and about air quality, about community, and what's going on in the community. And I just wanted to say that air quality, although it hasn't received a lot of attention in recent years, it is going to start receiving more attention just because it's starting to become a really huge issue. And with COVID-19 now being out there, that's going to place air quality on the forefront of people's attention within the next few years, because the two go hand in hand. And so you guys are right here pioneering on the front line when it comes to being involved in an environmental issue that is already impacting the community, though most people don't know it. So you're right here being pioneers, able to help your community and help people in your community understand an issue that they really need to know about, so that they can, be informed and make informed decisions for themselves and their families. So thanks, everyone.
Okay. Jeff, you had a question. I'm trying to read it, but it's coming up on the screen. Would you like to ask your question, Jeff?
Sure, Luana. It wasn't a question necessarily. It was more just a comment. If there's an opportunity for you all to receive some suggestions of some candidates that you could do testing inside the home, I could help out, because we do have a small program that we're working on right now, testing as well to be done. So we haven't started that yet, but if you're looking for suggestions, we can definitely connect on that.
Everybody, he was recording. We have that on the recording, so we are definitely will get back with you on that. So make sure everybody realize that this is a 2-year grant. I'm so happy that the EPA awarded us this grant for Region 4. But I want everybody to say, like Dr. Jones said, and Jan with her magnificent presentation, the work begins today, but we must inform our community, and we must empower our community to realize that we can make changes if we're informed about what is going on and we're given the tools to make the changes. So the most important thing is the opportunity to say we are here. But more so, I believe that this environmental justice grant is giving a voice to the voiceless. And for so many years, a lot of these communities have felt like their voices have not been heard. So now that they see that it's important and that we're talking about climate change, we're talking about global warming, we're talking about air quality, they're hearing this regularly on the dialogue, on TV, in the communications and stuff like that. Now we can say, yes, but we need funding to come to our community to empower our community to make changes, so we can educate ourselves to make sure we're living in a healthy community. So if there's no other questions, Raise your hand, Joanne. Go right ahead, Joanne.
Thanks, Mr. Wanda, and thank you for this great presentation to the group. I know Ms. Wanda Jones went over the device that would be used to collect the air samples. My question is it going to be a passive sampling, or is there a pump that will be used to mimic the respiratory rate of a human to collect the air sample?
It's a passive system in regards to, as you related to the respiratory rate. In other words, that type of sampling device, one, would be super expensive, and I think it would be a great device if there is. I haven't done any research to find out if there is one that exists. Perhaps since you mentioned it, you are aware of something like that. But that would definitely be, especially as after we get the results back from this study, that would be really interesting to be able to use a device like that and collect air samples and see, you know, how that might impact the modeling results of how that might impact the lungs. But the system that we're using is one that's used by a number of consulting companies, and as I mentioned, the EPA recommends it. And it's passive in regards to once you turn it on, the sensor head will sample the air for the particular component that we're looking for. So with all of the ones that you saw listed, there are some of the sensor heads. One of the sensor heads collects temperature, humidity at the same time. But most of the other sensor heads specifically collect the components that we're looking for with that sensor head. Some of them, depending on, like particulate matter, has a different kind of mechanism that's used in order to get the parts when it's moving the particulate matter through the monitor. And then for the gases, there's a specific type of I'm trying to find the right word. The equipment, the measuring tool that's inside of the sensor head is different than the one that's used for particulate matter, and it's specifically used to detect specific gases. So it's passive in that regard, but depending on the sensor head, there may be a component within the sensor head, depending on what we're sampling from the air with that sensor head, that actually is active as opposed to the air just passing over a sensor. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
And if anybody can help us out to find some additional funding, that would be great. But that is what we could afford in this particular grant. We are picking that up, and that was a huge chunk of the, we're also paying the people that were doing the work. Are there any other questions? Then I want to say, hey, thank you for joining us this evening. Look forward to working with each and every one of you. Please, if you think I have your email address, I don't. Just put it in the chat room just to make sure. But I want to say thank you for joining us. Look forward to working with each and every one of you. And so if you can share the information that we're looking for individuals who would like to participate in our community science team, be a part of it, let me know or let them know to get in contact with me. We're looking for individuals now. And so if there's nothing else, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you for joining us. Good day.
Luana, I have
one more question. Okay, Dr. Jones.
The young lady who just asked that question, can you please send your email address to Ms. Gelzer and let her know that you're the one who asked that question? Because if you are aware of a piece of equipment like that, I would love to talk to you more about it, because I think that was an excellent question.
I think we're well connected, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you.